and welcome to the Tao of Our Understanding Recovery Podcast. In this podcast, we discuss mystical works of literature and how they relate to recovery. We hope you enjoy today's podcast episode.
Hello, this is Buddy C. Welcome to the Tao of Our Understanding Recovery Podcast. Today we have Marla and Craig and Chris and Dennis. Today we will be talking about when knowledge went north. Interesting. Last week we had Sensei on. We're talking about emptiness from a Zen Buddhist perspective. And today we're going to be talking about emptiness from Chuang's perspective. So I think we're going to have some things today that are going to shine a little different light on emptiness than what we talked about last week. So I think this is going to be really good. Any announcements, Marla, that we need before we start? Just our 9 p.m. Eastern online meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. You can find that at zoomaameetings.com. I'll have that link in the notes. I will have the link to our private Facebook group in the notes. I will have a link to Sensei's book in the notes. I have all kinds of links in the notes. Check out the notes for this episode. Marla, will you read for us, ma'am?
I'd be happy to. When knowledge went north. Knowledge wandered north, looking for Tao over the dark sea and up the invisible mountain. There on the mountain he met non-doing, the speechless one. He inquired, "Please inform me, sir, by what system of thought and what technique of meditation I can apprehend Tao. By what renunciation or what solitary retirement may I rest in Tao? Where must I start? What road must I follow to reach Tao?" Such were his 3 questions. Non-doing, the speechless one, made no reply. Not only that, he did not even know how to reply. Knowledge swung south to the bright sea and climbed the luminous mountain called Doubt's End. Here he met Act on Impulse, inspired prophet, and asked the same questions. "Ah," cried the inspired one, "I have the answers and I will reveal them." But just as he was about to tell everything, he forgot all he had in mind. Knowledge got no reply. So knowledge went at last to the palace of Emperor T and asked his questions of T. T replied, "To exercise no thought and follow no way of meditation is the first step toward understanding Tao. To dwell nowhere and rest in nothing is the first step towards resting in Tao. To start from nowhere and follow no road is the first step toward attaining Tao." Knowledge replied, "You know this, and now I know it. But the other 2, they did not know it. What about that? Who is right?" T replied, "Only non-doing, the speechless one, was perfectly right. He did not know. Act on Impulse, the inspired prophet, only seemed right because he had forgotten. As for us, we come nowhere near being right since we have the answers. For he who knows does not speak. He who speaks does not know. And the wise man gives instruction without the use of speech." The story got back to Act on Impulse, who agreed with T's way of putting it. It is not reported that non-doing ever heard of the matter or made any comment. So you're right, it is all about nothing, or being empty, non-doing.
Non-doing.
Detachment. Unlearning.
Comments, guys?
Well, everybody want to be the not knowing now.
Well, that's from the 56th verse of the Tao Te Ching. Those who know don't talk, and those who talk don't know. close your mouth, block off your senses, blunt your sharpness, untie the knots, soften your glare, settle your dust. This is primal identity. Be like the Tao. It can't be approached or withdrawn from, benefited or harmed, honored or brought into disgrace. It gives itself up continually. That is why it endures.
Well, this is exactly that.
Yeah, sure is. And I don't think it's, if someone comes to you and asks you how to do something and you don't tell them and you know how to do that, I don't think that's what it's talking about.
No, I don't either.
You know, this is it's paradoxical. This whole idea is, I think one thing that and this is finding emptiness, really. For me, it would be finding, and this is knowledge that's going and looking for this. So it's not someone who knows nothing. It is knowledge. Knowledge is out looking to find the way of the Tao. So by that alone, we know the way of the Tao is not in the next book we think we need to buy.
Mm-mm.
Or the next YouTube video that's going to teach us about how to be empty.
I think that means there's no knowledge in the Tao. I know this is about living right. You know, you can teach people how to do the right thing just by acting the right way. You don't have to say anything. But if knowledge is looking for the Tao, that means the Tao doesn't have any knowledge, doesn't it? Or am I? All right. So you're supposed to know.
That's been my experience. Now, I think one hint toward this, Marla, is how we approach recovery. We approach recovery from a no knowledge point of view.
Yeah, we're talking about that.
Yeah, because when someone comes and they say, "Well, how do you get sober?" You don't tell. Well, you might tell them to go buy a big book, or some other book of, like what I do is I tell them to buy a big book and buy 12 and 12, but that's just for reference only. What really gets them sober is listening to the experience of others getting sober. That's the part that works. Even actually, the point of writing the big book was to give to people who did not have meetings to go to. At first, it was a way to get people sober before meetings were in an area. All the stories in the back of the book are for that reason. They're all people's experience with getting sober. So the book is meant to be the experience of the first 100 that got sober, sharing that experience with other people. So it wasn't a book of knowledge. It was a book of experience.
Definitely a difference.
Yeah. So I think that for me, that leads me to the idea that what I'm looking for is not in my intelligence or my education. Although those things could be good fingers that point me to what I'm looking for. You know, like we're talking about the finger pointing at the moon. You know, it's not the finger. You know, the finger is not. All those things are things pointing us in the direction of the Tao, not the Tao. Y'all interrupt me if you have any comments, guys. I'm just going to keep talking if not. There's a quote that Sensei actually had from his book, and he's quoting, it's an old Zen saying, and I can't find who it actually, who this is a quote of. It says, when you speak, it is quiet. When you're quiet, it speaks. When you move, it is still. When you are still, it moves. If you sit still enough for long enough, everything else begins to move. That is the nothingness.
Also, right, we're talking about beyond form here. And when it's beyond form, there's no knowledge that can conceive it. So that kind of speaks to me, and that again is me trying to intellect something that isn't there, right? Intellect nothing, and I actually found a quote. A quote that is made by Hafiz, and this is in Dr. Wayne Dyer's version. Hafiz, he was there many centuries after the death of Lao Tzu, but it says it sounds like this: if you think the truth can be known from words, if you think that the sun and the ocean can pass through that tiny opening called the mouth, someone should start laughing. Someone should start wildly laughing now.
Yeah.
That means we cannot put it into words, those things, right? So you cannot, the mind cannot conceive it.
I'm reading a book called The Golden Age of Zen, The Foundation of Zen Philosophy. It's a real page turner. It's by John Woo. Okay, but it's got all of the old Zen patriarchs and what they taught. So this is the kind of things they taught back in the 700, 800, 900 AD. And I've got a couple of lines here I want to read. This is one of the patriarchs. He says, followers of the Tao do not take the Buddha for the ultimate. As I look at him, he is still like the hole in the privy. As to the virtuous ones, do not deceive yourselves. I care nothing for your expertise in interpreting the sutras and for your high positions in the world, or for your flowing eloquence, or for your intelligence and wisdom. I only care for your true and authentic insight and genuine perception. Followers of the Tao, even if you were able to expound 100 sutras, you would still be no match for a simple and humble monk with no concern for anything. That is the nothingness we're talking about, right?
Yep, exactly.
I read this a couple of days ago and I was like, wow. I said, that's exactly what I needed for Thursday. There are tons of quotes like that in here. We're fixing to read a book called Ashes on the Buddha. It's a book about someone walked into the Zendo and was smoking a cigarette and put ashes on the Buddha, and everybody freaked out, you know. And they're saying, it's nothing sacred. It's not about the statue. You know, that's just a finger pointing at what's sacred.
That's good.
That is good.
You know, it says here that non-doing made no reply, that he did not even know how to reply. It didn't say he didn't know. He just said he didn't know how to reply.
He didn't have a voice, right? Wait, hold on.
I don't know if I would assume he could reply.
No, he was the speechless one.
Mm.
Yeah, but he chose not to speak.
Ah.
Are you sure?
I think so. Or why would knowledge go and ask him if he was not able to?
There on the mountain, he met non-doing, the speechless one. So he's looking for non-doing who doesn't speak.
Yeah, so I think he had the ability to speak if he wanted to speak.
No, we're not.
Or he wouldn't have asked the questions. You know,
he didn't know how to reply, so he must have been speechless.
Maybe he went there with the expectation of him showing him how to do what he was asking.
He wouldn't have made the trip if he didn't think that he could show him some way. I wouldn't think, but regardless. And it's interesting how knowledge was looking for three things: the technique of meditation. Give me the formula, right? And what renunciation or what solitary retirement may I read? In other words, what do I need to vow? What do I need to, how do I
give up? It's like, what do I need to give up to get to this?
And then where must I start? What road must I follow? He's asking all the right questions.
All great questions.
Yeah.
So we talk about the speechless one, but then knowledge swings south to the bright sea, then the luminous mountain called Doubt's End. Doubt's End. So that means he's approaching it with a bit of doubt. Is that how you read that?
Or this is the mountain where you get rid of all doubt.
Okay.
The end of doubt.
Okay. All right. And there he meets Act on Impulse. And what's Act on Impulse doing with on Doubt's End, on Luminous Mountain?
He met Craig. He met Act on Impulse.
It's like a cartoon, my kid.
Reminded me of Craig. Yeah, I know how to do it. I'll show you how to do it.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah, just go on. I'll show you how to do it.
And of course, he forgot before he could show him. I will show you everything, and then he forgot it all.
Yeah, what's that about?
Well, he was acting on impulse. So if you're acting on impulse, and all of a sudden another impulse comes in, and then you forget about it.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Right.
I was with Marla. I had no idea what that was. Okay, that makes sense.
I have the answers, and I will reveal them.
Yeah.
But he forgot to what all they were because another thought came into his mind.
So then he goes down to Emperor T. And
Who
he
gives him the answers? Right?
Do what?
He gives him the answers. This is how you do it.
This is how you do it. This doesn't say you don't meditate. You follow no way of meditation. That's pretty close to Zen meditation, really. It's just sitting.
Exactly.
That's why I'm very attracted to that, because all it is just sitting. There's no agenda. There's nothing to acquire. You already have everything. You're just not aware of it. You have it all. There's nothing to get. You're just sitting. It's all
very much a yoga
that pretty much describes Zen, the last of that stanza.
Yeah. And then dwell nowhere and rest in nothing. Doesn't say you don't rest or dwell.
No attachment.
No attachment.
That's
right.
what I take it to mean. You have no attachment to these things that you I don't know if you need them or.
Yeah. And then he says, start from nowhere and follow no road, because you're already there. You just don't know it. I had another quote I was this was another one of these Yun Min. Another one of these Zen masters. He said, I am put under the necessity of speaking before you and thereby sowing seeds of confusion in your mind. I have to speak, so I'm confusing you with every word, because what you're looking for is not in what I'm saying. Yeah, every word he's saying is confusion. Each of us carries a light within him, but when it is looked at, it is turned into darkness. Oh, here it goes. Before your eyes lies no other road. There's only one road, not many roads, is what he said. This road leads to everyone's own self. This is not only the one goal, but also the one road, for the simple reason there is no road to lead you to the self outside of itself. There's nowhere to go. You're already there.
Mm-hmm.
I just read this morning, and I was like, wow, that's perfect.
There's nowhere else to look for yourself but within yourself.
Yeah.
You can't find it in self-help books, no matter how many of them I've read.
When you look at the map and you're looking at where are you? You are here. I mean, so you're already there. It's interesting that knowledge wanted to know who was right. He wanted someone to be wrong, someone to be right. Chris?
I'm sitting here wondering why I keep thinking of that you can't, there's no single path. The path is everywhere. Is that what we're saying? It's, to rest nowhere, dwell nowhere means to dwell everywhere.
That there's nothing to attain, Chris. We keep looking, thinking all these, if we learn this thing, or if you're looking at, if you just looked at it purely from a monetary standpoint, where I used to think if I got this, I would be happy, or this thing or that. And none of those things changed anything. It didn't make me happy because I was still me. So looking outward for satisfaction and contentment never worked. So that's just one example of how, we think that once we gain this and once I have this or are married, have children or grandchildren, whatever it is, we're going to feel different. Well, we don't, because we're still us. Unless we turn that light around and start the journey within, which is what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as we're looking outside of the hula hoop, outside of us, for what we're looking for, we're not going to find it because it's not there. What's the story Todd W. was telling me this morning, where they were going to hide the treasure and they said, well, hide it on the mountain? Or you tell that story, don't you, Dennis? I think.
Yes, that is actually from Joe and Charlie.
Tell
they
it.
say it's these three wise men that has gotten the key to internal happiness. And the first one saying, we got to hide this away from people, otherwise they're going to abuse it. So the first one say, hey, we're going to hide it up in the highest mountain. I'm sure that's a safe place. And two others saying, no, I know human beings, they're going to search, they're going to look, and eventually they will find it. The second one, he says, no, okay, let's hide it deep down in the deepest sea. I'll never find it there. And the two others go, no, well, people, they're smart. They're going to search, they're going to look, and eventually they're going to find it. And the third wise man says, we're going to hide it inside of themselves, and they'll never find it there. Knows that. I like that. There's another one that I got reminded of when you were talking, buddy, was you can pack a donkey with all the spiritual readings. In the end of the day, it's still just going to be a donkey, right? And that was kind of to what Buddy was saying. We always think that somewhere in the future, that's where there's an end result, and we're not there. The ego always want to tell us we're not there. There's always something else, right? But it's really in this moment that everything is, and that's pretty cool, right? In this time moment, you can unlock everything if you're capable of it.
Does that address what you were talking, Chris, or
sort of, yeah? But I'm still thinking that Tao is nowhere but everywhere.
It's everything. It's the whole. It's not just the things. It's the whole. It's everything. So there's nowhere to go.
Mm-hmm. Right. But yet it's unknowable.
It's unknowable from our intellect.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But you can feel it in your heart.
I think it's knowable intuitively. It's that, for me, it's that intuitive peace that I get when I help someone with no motive.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty good.
Have y'all experienced that, where you just have that peace and joy that you get from just doing the next right thing, whatever that is? And it's usually something that doesn't appear to, really benefit you some way monetarily or some other way, that you could, it wouldn't be something I would have done before.
I share something. I don't share this with anybody, but there's a woman who lives a mile from me who lives in a wheelchair. She can't take out her garbage. So every Monday I go and take her garbage out for her.
Yeah.
And nobody has to know. Nobody knows I do it. She can't do it.
And that's the beautiful of it. The thing is, the unselfishness is not in the act itself, but that you don't share it with others is vitally important. Because sometimes when we wanna show how good we are, right? Hey, I did this, and that takes away that thing that Buddy just talked about, that feeling that this is the right thing, and I don't need to tell anybody about it.
It's like the person taking a. It's like the person taking a photograph of him, giving money to somebody on the streets. Yeah. It's like the promises as well, because the promises says when we cease fighting everything and anything, even alcohol, and then it goes on to say we'll intuitively know how to handle things that we could never do before, we could never handle for ourselves. And I think that's important for myself to remember as well. As long as I'm trying to control things, as long as I'm trying to do things for myself rather than hand it over to God and let Him take care of it. If I can stop interfering and just do intuitively the next right thing, then it usually works out a lot better than Craig's way of doing it. I am definitely act on impulse. And if you do come and see me, you need to bring your own bail money.
I am, Craig. One day we'll come to Scotland, and I'm going to come to see you.
I think you should all come over. We could do a Dow meeting from my house.
And I will just one. I'm going to travel all the way over there for one fucking meeting.
Yeah, you get 45 minutes, Marla. That's it.
That's all you need. No.
10-hour plane ride, man.
No, I do the full hour, Dennis. I insist on the full hour.
On the what?
On the full hour, not 45 minutes. You get the full hour.
Full hour. Okay.
Yeah,
so
full hour.
What funny. I thought you were talking about something edible. I couldn't get you.
Hour?
Filala, what is that? No, I get it.
Anything else, guys? This is good.
Yeah, there's something else I'd like to share here too. This reminds me of back when I was with the early stages of struggling with the higher concept of higher power. I asked somebody in a meeting, there were a couple of people that were very eloquent about their Christianity, and I just asked them what their path to their higher power was. And there was just total silence. They couldn't explain how they got there, but they had the faith. And I think that for me was a turning point as to how I think of the higher power. It's really cool.
Chris, I have to be open too. Some people call that God or higher power or the Tao, which is the path, so I just look at them all as being the same. So whatever we call it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. I have to give people liberty and room to figure those things out for themselves, that they don't have to agree with me or think about it the same way I do. At this point, it's become the collective of all of us, this spiritual oneness that we don't see or understand or comprehend. Back to that thinking again, But sometimes we can know it, and then we learn to be it, So.
Yeah, the thing I took away from it was that it's sort of foolish to hunt, to seek it. Actually, you have to be open to it, but not seek it.
what I think happens is when if God is love, then God is a verb. God's an action. God's not a noun. If God is love. So if that's the case, when I show you kindness, when I show you love, then I'm showing you God. So the more I do that, the more I start seeing that in my life. That's how it seems to happen for me. So it's not that I have to start trying to figure out who God is. I just need to start loving people. I need to start helping people. And that can start with me. If I hate people, start with praying for people I don't like. Because those are the people I really need to love, So I start praying.
I was just saying thank you for that.
No, Dennis, I don't have to pray for you. I'm good. But I have people I don't like. I show my ass at times still. I had to make an amend earlier this week. I showed my behind and shouldn't have done it. And I'm having to pray for those folks. I woke up thinking about it this morning. When I sat down I started praying for them before I got out of bed. I knew what to do.
Actually, you have set your mark in Cartersville. You were quoted here a couple of days ago, and it is actually among what we're talking about right now. When it comes to not liking people, you said a thing you have said there that got stuck. It was Kenny that was talking about it. He said, "Well, if I can just let 10 people be wrong today without me adjusting them." Yeah, that's funny. That's a great work. Let me just let 10 people be wrong. Because I always tell my wife, we can keep doing it your way or we can do it the right way.
I'm sure that goes over well, Dennis.
Yeah, that doesn't go nowhere, no.
No, I'm sure you get the double.
Yeah, I do.
That must be up there with when she goes off on one, when you tell her that she's overreacting. I bet she calms right down, doesn't she?
Oh, yeah.
I've got that saying about give 10 people the right to be wrong, written down in my 12 and 12.
No, I actually I had a profound thing today with Bernie. She has this online marketing thing where she sells stuff online, and I was supposed to pack a pair of shoes for her and send them. And I saw the pictures of it, and I was sure I packed the right thing in. She wanted me to reopen the pack again so I could show her that it was the right shoes. She thought she was afraid. And I got upset. I don't want to do that. I know I have the right ones, but I did it. I took it out and I did it for her. And then I realized that she just came from a place of fear. And then thinking of that, whenever I come from a place of fear, it doesn't exist. It's not the truth. But this time I just had to accept it that she came from that point off, and I had to see, okay, what can I do differently next time? I can just take a picture of it before I send it, right? So what can I learn and do my part of it, and not have to lecture her about, hey, this you're coming from fear, and that's not anything that I want to spend my life in. Mm-hmm. It was kind of interesting. So that was profound. And I realized that fear really don't exist. Not even if you get attacked by a bear, then you're acting by intuition, not out of fear. So
intuitively, though, you'd be
yes, fear. But that's on intuition. It's a survival instinct that you have. It's not real fear, because fear is always in the future somewhere, right?
Okay. Yeah, that is different.
Yes, it is. It's really an intuitive reaction that you have, survival instinct. So,
and I was just listening to a podcast a little bit about that. That my addiction is a survival instinct that I needed to soothe me. The substances I used were to soothe me. That was my survival instinct. It kind of turned things a little bit around for me, rather, because there's always self-hatred about being an addict. It was the way that I took care of myself. It was just self-soothing, and that's
the only way you knew how at the time.
It is so, yeah, the only way I knew how to do it. And it was, right at hand. It's so easy to get substances.
I just, I know for me, I still at times would like to escape the moment. And I escaped the moment's what I did. I wouldn't be in the moment.
That was me. I didn't want to live in reality. Reality was too hard for me. That was,
Mm-hmm.
All right. This is how they responded. It's interesting, too. Maybe we've got something here we haven't seen yet. T said that non-doing was perfectly right. He didn't know. Act on impulse only seemed right. As for us, we come nowhere near being right since we have the answers. And then he talks about the speaking and the knowing. The reactions, though, act on impulse, agreed, which surprised me. I thought he would have gotten mad and disagreed, but he agreed. And non-doing didn't care. Don't even know if he heard about it or made any comment. He just kept non-doing, kept doing what he was doing to begin with.
It is that non-doing never heard of the matter.
Yeah. And that reminds me of taking things personally, because I respond when I take things personally.
One of the 4 agreements.
Yes.
Take things personally.
I still do it sometimes. And when I do, I always show my behind.
We're human. It's hard not to, but everybody comes from their own perspective and their own judgments and their own shit.
I think that's the biggest character defect I discovered about myself during this whole sobriety thing is that I'm human. I'm always gonna have these things crop up. I'm always gonna have the angers, the bitterness, the resentments, the fears. I'm always gonna have it.
I don't know about that, Craig.
But you can reduce them.
If you let me finish, if you let me finish, buddy.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I'm always going to have these until I've reached the level of enlightenment that you have.
I'm with Craig. They're always going to pop up.
Until then, I'm just going to be...
I still have them.
I'm going to be a human doing and not a human being.
They're just not as bad as they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But back to this reading, the very first verse of the Tao says that the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. So is that really the whole essence of this exercise in knowing going north? He's looking for what can't be. He's looking for something that cannot be understood.
Yes, he's looking for something that can't be understood.
Maybe that's why the first one couldn't explain what it was, because it wouldn't be the eternal Tao.
And he was the right one. He was right.
But you can be it. You just can't know it, though. See, that's the thing.
You guys haven't talked about this already, have you? I haven't just zoned out and you've talked about this before, have you? Because, no, that's fine.
No, but what I was going to say is like doing the next right thing is a purely intuitive matter.
Mm-hmm.
So that is, to me, living the Tao. You intuitively do the right thing. And that is always coming from a place of love or kindness, innocence, humility, on and on.
See, that's the doing. And it's not, I think it's like, for me, why cognitive behavior therapy did not work in recovery for me. I couldn't work harder and do better. The naked mind does not work for me. I'm sorry. It just does not work. Me knowing why I'm an alcoholic does not help me to be sober. That's just me.
That book got me banned from Facebook for a day. I got put in Facebook jail for a day.
Just to get Craig tuned up, because I know how much he dislikes that book.
Man.
I'm messing with Craig.
It came off my Facebook memories about Paul Churchill's book, Alcohol is Shit. It's an incredible book. So I like to do some promotional work for Recovery Elevator because I work for Recovery Elevator as well. So I like to kiss ass as well. So I put a post up saying, and it was Paul's 7th anniversary as well. It was his 7th sober anniversary. So it's still the best book and still the best book in recovery and la-di-da-da-da. And everybody in Recovery Elevator knows that I cannot stand This Naked Mind. It's just a book that I just do not get on. Buddy, don't cut this out. Right. It is in my experience, it's one of the most plagiarized books ever. It's just everybody else's opinions condensed into one big book and then sold off as somebody else's idea. So somebody posted a link on the feed to Paul Churchill's book. He says, "What about this book, Craig? What do you think about this?" And it's one of the guys from the Recovery Elevator group, and he posted a link to This Naked Mind. So I say to him in the comments, says, "I'm going to swim to Florida and kick you in the nuts." And the next thing I got banned from Facebook for inciting violence. So, of course, the knock-on effect to that was because I upload all the posts for Transitions Daily and I was blocked from Facebook, the Transitions Daily posts didn't post. So I had to get my wife Louise to join Transitions Daily, and I had to post all of the readings from Transitions Daily under Louise's. So I've got sponsees text me saying, "Look, Facebook is your new sponsor."
Craig.
That's funny.
Yeah, but that whole idea of working harder, doing better, Chris, is that knowledge for me. That's the knowledge approach. That's what knowledge is looking for. Knowledge is saying, how can I do this? And if you're looking at it from a sobriety standpoint, I can say, well, you just got to surrender. Well, how do you surrender? What do? You mean you just stop trying? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just go help somebody. You say, oh, I can't do that. What about me? That's what knowledge does.
Mm.
I read this little thing. A lot of people think those of us who follow the Tao are a bunch of do-nothing lazy asses because we're doing a bunch of nothing.
They just don't understand the Tao. They don't understand what effortless effort is. Effort. It is work.
I think there are other philosophers.
Yeah. It's not. It's not what that's a knowledge approach. That's a head knowledge approach to the Tao. What that is. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Most people don't understand that it's not a head. It's not to be intellectualized. That's kind of what we're doing, when we sit around here talking about it.
And I like those old Zen masters though that say, "Hey, every word we put with this is just confusing you more." So you're better off just going and sitting.
Yes. Other spiritual teachers are saying intellect is not really helping you grow spiritual growth.
But get my book.
It's actually a hinder for it. Yes, but get my book. That's
right.
That's hilarious. But no, it's. I'm on Body's camp with that. When I already said that my life is unmanageable, it's also my thinking. And if that's not good, then cognitive treatment is not something that works for me.
But then it's all of that's the finger pointing at the moon, though. All of that, we get it confused. All of those, every book I read is not the answer. Now, if it points me to the answer, which is emptiness, which is sitting, I like reading other people's experience with how they learned to sit, how they learned to stay sober, whatever it is that we're talking about. But that's what works is other people's experience with this, not this is the magic formula.
No. I think there's more magical formula in surrendering and knowing what that is. To surrender, just take things as they are and just do the next right thing and then reach out to others with love.
Accepting everything as it is. And the hardest thing with acceptance for me is the phrase, two phrases. One is the Sono, where she said, "Thank you for everything. I have no complaint whatsoever." that story. And then I would not change whatever it is that's bothering me, that's aggravating me, even if I could.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing that you don't want to change. Is even that you're bothered and you're frustrated right now. You don't want to change that.
Even if I could.
Yeah,
even if I could change it, I would not change it.
That's good.
Now that is for me, that is how I approach emptiness. And just sitting with that and saying, how can I get love involved in this? Because that's what cracks that door even further, is the more compassion I can get involved in whatever's going on, the more, the closer I can get to emptiness, the closer I can get to peace and joy, because that's where my peace and joy is in my emptiness.
Yeah. Buddy, I hope you're able to pass your knowledge along to your grandson. I hope you're able to do that. He's very lucky.
Maybe he'll be interested. I don't know. We'll see. I asked him if he was going to meditate with me the other day. I was teaching him to sit. He's like 18 months. So, no, he's not even 18 months.
No better time. Start them young.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think if I had learned when I was a kid how to manage, I've told you this before, how to manage my emotions and my thoughts better as a young kid, I maybe would not have turned to drugs, you know?
I'm going to teach him to sit if he will, you know, so we'll see. First of all, they've got to see a difference in me for sitting, and sometimes they don't see it. You know, sometimes I show my behind, you know.
Yeah, but you're human.
I am. I'm not supposed to be. I'm supposed to be superhuman. You know that, Marla.
You're close.
I wasn't Monday.
Just don't encourage him, Marla. We'll never hear the end of it.
I didn't get the law called to me. That's good. I stayed under that.
Oh, good. Okay.
No police were out, so that's good. But anyway, anyone else got anything on this? They want to. Chris, anything else from you, sir? Did we just dance around what you wanted, what your question, or did we actually address it?
I think it's pretty well addressed. It's something to continually think about, though, isn't it?
Well, that's the thing. When we stop thinking about it is when we start to see it. You know, and what happens for me is I will just know something sometime. I'm like, oh, it reminds me of on the Matrix, when on the first one, when Neo was first learning everything and they asked him something, he says, I know whatever, you know, and I'm like, all of a sudden I'm sitting and I'm thinking, wow, I know something I didn't know. How did I just know that? I haven't read something that showed me that. It was just something that was that intuitive that happens from time to time, you know, as we start being open to that intuitiveness that's out there for every moment of the day, I believe.
Don't you think that kind of intuitiveness comes through somebody like a musical genius, like a Mozart, a Picasso, you know, who start like, you know, Itzhak Perlman picked up a fiddle when he was 3. And, you know, he's a famous international violinist. Picasso, you know, picked up a paintbrush when he was 3 or 5 or something like that.
It would have to be.
You know that.
Yeah, it would have to be something like that, Marla. It would have to be.
It's intuitive, or it's either a reincarnation in their previous.
But still, even if it's reincarnation, it's somewhat intuitive. There's something going on there.
Sure.
You know? So, who knows?
I know, and eventually, who cares?
Good.
I've got to go buy me another book on. No, I'm just kidding.
Is there a book you do not have, buddy, on all this?
There are a number of books that I haven't got. And I've got a library, but I've got a lot of books I don't have, Dennis, because I quit buying books on every topic because I realized the answer was not in the books.
Right. There's only so much time to read.
I'm better off sitting and meditating.
Oh, I have the perfect book for you. Almost done reading. Anyway.
You guys are so funny.
I'm still amazed the fact that I've just discovered that the big book doesn't have answers in it. It just has experience.
Yeah.
You didn't realize that?
That has to be the profoundest thing that I've heard today. In fact, that probably tops the week.
Huh. Yeah, that was the whole point of the book, Craig, was to share the experience, because they did not have meetings, but in Akron, Ohio, and New York. That was the only place there were meetings.
Yeah, I understand the basis behind the book, but I just didn't. I hadn't looked at it from. I was always looking for answers in the book. I was always. It's always for the past 5 years on the 21st of this month. Not dropping any hints or anything like that, but I've always looked to the big book for answers.
Here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program of recovery. That's experience. That's it. This is what we did. Yeah. It's a book of experience. It's a book of no knowledge, Chris.
Well, there is some knowledge here. I'm sitting with the Danish version of the big book here, actually. And what I really was dumbfounded about is that it didn't come to Denmark until 1989. That is 50 years later. Can you see that ego that we have there, that denial? Yeah, we're not alcoholics. We're going to handle this on our own, okay?
Is it denial, or is it that you guys are all happy over there?
We adopted American football before we adopted the big book.
Yeah.
I think that says something about how we still think the earth is flat, kind of deal we had to deal with here. But the funny thing was in 85, they still had, I think it was 95 members. And that was probably how, and then after the book, it developed to over a lot of 200 home groups or whatever. This was published in 95. So, yeah.
Wow. I have a lot of Danish furniture.
Oh, you're doing good, Marla. That's normally pretty expensive.
Yeah, but you can't move but once with it. You got to leave it.
I think it could be, Dennis, the answer is that doesn't Carlsberg come from Denmark?
Yeah.
Isn't Carlsberg, which is the best lager in the world, apparently. So you guys can't have a problem if you have the best alcohol in the world. I have a lot of family members and that's been in construction. Some of those guys that work for Carlsberg on a daily basis, some of those bricklayers, they got some of the mud upstairs and they got told, just take half a bucket down. They didn't do anything. They were just drunk. A carpenter, he was lying up on the attic and he was just sleeping. Once in a while, he just took his hammer and banged it into the floor just so it sounded like he was working. They didn't do anything. They had so much money, Carlsberg, and it's huge. That thing, yeah. Not that we endorse any brand or that, but Carlsberg do have the funniest adverts as well.
You know, alcohol is the third biggest industry. Big pharma, military, alcohol.
Makes sense.
Drugs.
It's a spirit for a reason.
Yeah.
We're a fun bunch, aren't we?
We're certainly not a glum lot.
No, we're not.
There you go. There's your big reference for the day.
Where's Amy when we need her? She's in
I think Dennis was quite impressed by how quick I was with that one.
Yeah.
Jesus, thank you for filling in, Craig, for Amy today. Now she's in Iceland on vacation all week.
Oh,
Cool. It's supposedly gorgeous there.
We'll hear all about it, I'm sure, when she gets
yeah, she's gonna get a new tattoo there. I'm pretty sure.
What?
When she travels, she gets a new tattoo, Amy. I'm looking forward to hear her story about that. Yeah, she gets another one everywhere she goes.
Should we take bets on what it's going to be? I reckon a big volcano on the back. Just
I don't think she has room.
Just erupting.
I don't think she has room for that. All right, guys, anything else before we close? Are we all good? Let's try not to think as much today. Maybe not look for as much knowledge, spend a little more time just sitting, just being open and available maybe instead. See if that doesn't work for us. Let's talk about it next week. So Thanks, everybody. Y'all have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Hello, this is Buddy C. I wanted to make you aware of several recovery-related resources that I've posted in the episode description. These resources include a list of recovery podcasts, a free sober meditation app, daily recovery email, shared Google Recovery calendars. Hope you put some of these resources to use and have a great week.
Thank you for listening to the Tao of Our Understanding Recovery Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends in recovery.